is. It is. It's podcast day. We're excited. We're digging out there. What have we got? Ooh, yes.
Dude, it's fucking podcast day.
Takes you back to that time of when you remember what you were doing when you first listened to that album, or
What is going on, you champions? That's right. Yes.
What up?
Podcast day. Two dudes talk music. Yes, and stew. I've been stewing on this shit all day.
What is going on?
Yes.
It's that time. It's that time. Podcast time. Yeah, spill the beans, man. Spill the beans. We want it. We want this. The exclusive details.
To know you.
Wearing shorts. I'm wearing shorts. It's a shorts day. It's a shorts day. We will find out why in a very, very short moment. But mate, I know you're a little stressed with all the technical issues we had kind of this one, but you're doing okay now. You had a few breaths.
Good, dude. I'm really looking forward to having a chat tonight, because just being able to digest this, and how do you explain it? This is the hardest thing, but I mean, we'll get to that in a moment. We do have some gigs coming up, though. Are we going to talk about the gigs?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know we were going to do that. Do you have some gigs that you want to rattle off?
Well, we got Heist coming. We got Heist coming up at the Rattler.
Yep.
And they're playing with my homeboys Weightless, so that one's coming up real soon. We've got what else do we have? We got that Gavin and Gavin Dance with Nothing More. That's coming up. And just make sure you please go get you. The early bird tickets sold out for the Crowbar in Sydney.
Yes, the New Metal Mayhem tour.
New
Those
Metal
tickets
Mayhem
are
tour.
gone,
So
man.
those tickets are going quick, and I didn't
Those
get my early bird tickets.
ones.
So
Mate, yeah, those early bird tickets are going fast.
At the rate I'm going, I'm gonna have to tickle someone for a press pass. Jeez, man.
Mate,
And
well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe
Dude,
Joel swings that way. You don't know.
I got out on the weekend. Down at my local, and it turns out my local microbrewery is now indulging in a metal night once a month.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
It's a metal night set up by Lance from Dementor, which they are a fantastic thrash band. They were really, really, really good. I had an awesome time, and yeah, it's all happening. The metal scene is it's all happening at the moment.
That's really good. I mean, we're talking about gigs. So we'll mention this. We'll harp on this one a little bit more. But tomorrow, if you're around the valley tomorrow, head down to Bad Luck, Valley in Brisbane, I should say. Head down to Bad Luck because you got Mesmic, Dirty Brew, Regular Gonzales, and TaylorMade Rejects playing. So that's one that'll be really interesting. That's gonna slap. That one's gonna slap.
That's a stack.
Yeah. So
we talk about stack lineups.
Yeah, so something that we're trying to do, this was a bit improvised, but we are actually working, for those of you who are interested in trying to incorporate sort of a gig guide or thing with our stuff. So if you're in a band and you know you've been on here, or you want to come on here or whatever, or even if you don't want to come on here, if you just want us to shout out your gig that's coming up, let us know. We're gonna try and collect some info about gigs that are coming up on the weekend. The sort of weekend after we do the podcast. So if you catch in the live stream, you're going to know exactly what's happening that weekend, and awesome opportunity for you to get out and check out some cool shit. But mate, why don't we move this along to the reason for the season?
These guys,
the shorts. If you're not wearing shorts, if you're wearing long pants, you got about 30 seconds to go and change into your shorts.
I'm gonna have to pull my pants
That's
up.
the appropriate attire. That's the appropriate attire for today, because our very special guest don't play that shit. He don't play that shit. This is all about the shorts. Of course, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Jesse from the Shorts band itself, Regular Gonzales.
Hey guys,
my man.
Dude. Hey guys, good to be on. Good to see us.
Thank you so much, man. We really, really appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
I know we've been trying to tee it up for a little while, and there's just been some different stuff, but so stoked that we can finally have you on here. Because I mean, you're in and around the Brisbane scene like a bad rash, and you kind of you're on all sides of it. You're playing in bands, you're organizing shows, you're running so much stuff, and you're a hard man to pin down. But I'm glad we were able to get you on. So
great to be here, guys. And yeah, sorry for Yeah, bailing, I think, on a previous arrangement, man.
You don't have to
I was
apologize,
keen
my
the whole
man.
time, and then
Life
I'm just
happens.
so bad at organizing stuff, man.
Life happens. Life
That's it,
happens, my
man.
dude. But
Yeah,
you know,
You're here
we
now.
are
That's the main
so
thing.
stoked.
that's it. That's
Yes.
it. Actually, sorry guys, I got to cancel. I just
Oh,
remembered I
no.
got a thing. I got to. Yeah, I'll see you later.
But Ben, you guys
Ah, no way.
pivoted to such okay. So we, if you haven't listened to regular Gonzales, I'm sorry about the oh god
Spelling.
the
We
spelling.
should say yes.
It's gone.
G-O-N.
Gonzales.
G-O-N.
I think we'll change it in honor of the show. We'll change it.
But
Are we
Ben,
changing it to Gonzales? Is that it now?
yeah. For
Man,
now.
well, you guys have changed. You guys have changed your name for different stuff as well before, right? Like you guys did.
Well,
Normal Rodriguez, right?
Look,
That was the whole...
some people think that was us. No,
Okay.
they hijacked that gig off us, man. We were booked.
Okay.
We were booked. They beat us up. They took our shorts. They put them in a closet. They were on stage. They were wearing long pants. We don't know what was going on. We missed that whole gig, man.
Oh wow.
And
Rodriguez.
it's nothing to do with the fact that it was a gig in winter and it would have been really cold wearing shorts at that gig.
No, nothing to do with that, man. We'll be wearing shorts.
So it wasn't anyone needing an excuse to wear long pants on stage. That wasn't.
Not at all.
No, not at all. No way, man. No.
So where did the whole idea of a grunge rock country metal prog band come from? If you haven't listened to it, you have to go listen to it. It's fucking amazing.
Man, you nailed the genres in one first try. Nice one. I guess it's just stuff I've always listened to. Stuff we've listened to, all three of us. So Danny, the bass player, he's my brother. Age on drums. We've been best friends since like 2004, 2005. So we've all got similar music taste, and we started out playing 50s, 60s rockabilly, rock and roll, Elvis, Buddy Holly, stuff like that, just as a covers act. And one day we were just in the jam room, we we're running through the sets. After a song, I was just like, "Do you guys want to be a metal band?" And we were like, "Yeah!" And we just immediately like ditched the whole set and started from scratch. So yeah, so there's probably that sort of country or blues influence, and then we're all just massive Dillinger, Every Time I Die, The Sword, Converge, Botch, all that sort of stuff. We're just massive fans of that music. So started writing our own tunes in that sort of style, whatever you call it. Sludge prog, we've been calling it. So
Do you want to know something really, really funny?
Yeah.
We all the time, those of us that have are familiar, been in the Sydney metal scene, and then also are familiar with you guys, all the time, we constantly favorably compare you guys to a band from Sydney called Red B.
100%.
They are also a three-piece
Yeah.
that plays this like really heavy, like proggy style, and the singer / guitarist and bass player are also brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is the fucking most
That's amazing.
bizarre coincidence.
What are they called? I'm missing out. Red B?
Red B, man.
Red
you
B,
are
yep.
missing out. They are
B is in the
legit.
insect. But they go hard. They go so fucking hard. And I've said ever since I first saw you guys, I was like I think it was at the Back Room was the first time I saw you guys. It was a gig. We were playing a show with you, and straight away I was like, Red B and regular Gonzales need to have a fucking show together because
I'm looking them up right now.
Because you guys are gonna it would be the most amazing heavy.
I'll make it happen.
Combination,
dude.
man, for sure.
If you make that happen in Queensland, I will fly from Sydney to witness that.
Yeah. Whether you bring them up or you guys go down there, whatever happens. But it's I feel like that at least once that combination needs to happen because it's. I'm not one of these people that if I'm in bands, I have to act like I'm too cool for school, and. I'm in a band. I'm not one of these. If I'm in a band and I'm at a show playing with other bands and I see bands I like, I will fucking simp for those bands.
Oh yeah.
And I will gush about those bands because why the fuck are you? What's the point otherwise?
100%.
I will. And I've shared videos and stuff with people. And I'm like, man, you guys go. I sent videos of you guys to the guys in Red B, and I was like, y'all need to play with these motherfuckers.
Oh man.
And I think we got a new
Dude, Keelmobile 99. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the family.
Thank you so much, Keelmobile. Yeah, don't be afraid to jump in the chat. Anyone that's watching, we always like people to get involved in chat. If you got any any questions for us or for for Jesse here, we're more than happy to pass those on, and we'll try and read the comments out if you guys want to send those through.
Happy to
But
answer
yeah,
any
like
shorts related questions, or if it's about Tony Hawk Pro Skater, I can feel those ones as well. Yep.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, but yeah, it was just so bizarre. Like, I didn't know you guys were brothers. That's so much of a mad coincidence, though. Like, I cannot
Yeah, man. Yeah,
believe.
Danny, that's my little bro.
Now, you know what we got to do now, though, Kyle? Now we got to find a prog rock band from Melbourne that has a brother combo on guitar and bass that is also a three-piece. We need to try and find that, and then there has to be like an Aussie tour with all three of those, like at least a 3-city East Coast tour of all those bands. It's just like I don't know what you call it, but there's got to be find a way to make it work because that's just so crazy. Yeah,
Bro prom.
Bro down.
Yeah, the
bro
bro
down.
down.
Bro down. He ain't heavy. He's my bro.
But yeah, so how long is it that regular Gonzales has been playing like original music?
Yeah,
You said you guys were
man.
active for a while doing covers, but
With heavy stuff, we started writing our own stuff late 2016. Put the first album out 2017. So around that time, yeah. We do have. I'm pretty sure they're still on Spotify, but some like rockabilly tunes that are up there still. I just left them up.
Nice.
So yeah.
People should know where the roots come from. I mean, it's so dynamic, and it takes you on a journey. Like that's what I love about Australian prog hits different. I will fucking die on this hill. Australian prog kicks the shit out of American prog any day of the week. Australians do it better. Australians do prog metal better. Tell me I'm wrong.
Hard to argue.
It is.
Yeah, man. But yeah, our track "Rocket Truck" from our 2015 EP, that was all rockabilly stuff. Yeah, we still get asked to play that one. I'm like, I don't think it works anymore.
I'm sure you guys could find a way.
Yeah, bro, I'll just bring it back, but slower, man.
Yeah, that's it. Got to have the stank face.
Yeah.
So what's look, obviously, being a three-piece, maintaining a very heavy and full sound is something can be challenging at times. But from what I've noticed, I think you tend to utilize the octave pedal quite a bit on your guitar licks to kind of help fill out that sound, right?
That's the secret to my sound, man. Yep, it's
secret sauce.
It's just a rat pedal running straight into a Digitech whammy with a octave split. So yeah, original note and octave below. That's it. That's just
Digitech, man. Hang on to that Digitech stuff. They're gone now. They don't exist no more.
You just blew my mind. Is that legit?
I think they do. Or like, didn't they like shut down DoD?
Yeah, it does ring a bell. Yeah, what happened? I think you're right. Hey. Oh man.
I don't know. I don't know if I've still got it. I had a DoD bone shaker overdrive pedal. That I got. It was supposed to be really good for like low end stuff. I didn't end up liking the sound, so I've either got it in a box somewhere or I've sold it. But but yeah, if you've got any DoD or Digitech stuff you like, hang on to it because I don't think you're gonna be able to get it again.
Wow.
Yeah, the Digitech whammy. I love that pedal. That's my second one. I blew the first one up. Plugged it into the wrong power supply one day and just let the magic smoke out.
It's when you
but man,
I hate that you stand there and it's like, can I smell electrics burning?
Yeah,
I mean, this was immediate. I plugged it in and it just went like boom, and smoke came out, and I was like, "Oh man, that's it. That's the end of that." It was immediate. But
I think everyone's had that at some point. Everyone that's done music, and especially like with pedals and stuff and gear, it's happened to us all at some point.
Yep. But man, it's a testament to the whammy. Like, I love the thing so much. Like that day, I just went out and bought a new one. I was like, I need this.
Bro, you know what? I'm similar. We had we bought a thing for Corey, the Skunkbone guitarist, as a gift. A kind of I guess you could call it a boutique fuzz pedal called the Warlow from Jupiter Effects. It's a German thing. It's like one guy who makes everything and makes all of his stuff. And essentially, it's like a big muff, but where you can crank everything up to about 12. And so it's a modern sounding big muff where you can just go fucking crazy on everything. And like, we love it. We scooped it up. We got one for him, and I was like, I really like that actually. So I got one for the studio as well
Nice.
for my own collection, just so it's here
Yeah.
and I can when I get other bands in, we can utilize it because it's woo, you can get some power, you can get some sounds out of that thing.
Excellent.
It's going to get good use on the next Skunk Brain album for sure.
Yeah, but yeah,
So,
that's
okay.
the sort of vibe with Gons. It's supposed to be heavy, but we're only 3-piece, so I'm not writing like, you know, weird 3-part harmony stuff or trying to get too intricate. They're just big chunky riffs with the octave pedal, bass and guitar in unison for the most part. Because I don't do lead. I'm not really a solo or lead guitarist, so that never really factored into it. It's just big chunky riffs.
Look, big chunky riffs is the core of it, man. Like anyone, if you're a metalhead and you don't like big chunky riffs, you're in the wrong genre. Like
that's it.
What do you know?
Yeah.
So okay, so you mentioned that you guys had that that first sort of heavy lot of songs came out in 2017. What else have you guys released? Anything else since then? Like what else can people kind of find if they go scooping around for that?
Yeah, man. So yeah, that first album was War Were Declared. So all of the name is a Futurama joke. So the first album was called War Were Declared, which is another Futurama line. And then we put out a couple of singles. The plan was to put out another album, and then we'd write a couple songs, and we'd be like, "Oh man, we just want to release these songs." So we just we kept putting out singles until we put out like 4 or 5, and I was like, I could have had the album finished by now if we just held on to these songs. So yeah, there was Conflict Resolve, I think was the next one, and then so it was Chains and something or other. Chains and I've got them somewhere here. I forget the names of my songs. Chains came out, Conflict Resolve came out,
Chains came
and
out
then
in 2018. Conflict
18.
Resolve
That sounds
came
right.
out in 2018 as well.
There you go.
And then you had
Yeah.
Last Humans
Alive. Yep. Last Humans Alive.
Last Humans Alive came out in 2019.
Yeah. And then I think Daggers was the next one after that.
2020, and then you had
There you
Hex
go.
Worker, which was in 2021, and then we have Beige Alert.
Yeah. So Hex Worker was the sort of single from the album, Beige Alert. Yep. So yeah,
just
string of
make it
singles.
it's all Futurama jokes. That's all it is. It's just like
That's it.
everything is Futurama jokes. Is that okay? Now, no, this might be mean saying it, but is it because you feel like sometimes you look like the beige like guy when they're like, tell my wife I said hello.
Hello. It's that was not the intention, but I'll wear that. That's great. Maybe we should just start dressing up as the neutrals.
Just go on stage in like all beige clothes and just.
All I know is my gut says maybe.
Are you ready to listen to some music?
Yeah.
Now, there's no need to get rowdy.
Yeah, that's it. Just all of our statements are very neutral, very down the middle. Yep.
It's pretty regular.
Oh no, that's
very regular. Yeah.
This change been into regular.
So obviously we mentioned there that you know the whole normal Rodriguez thing that you know that took place at Moondoll Festival recently. I could see and I participated in as well a lot of discussions around further iterations of the name. Is there a likelihood that we may see other imposters, you know,
and
popping up to try and take the mantle?
We'll have to keep our guard up, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've heard rumblings that Ordinary Sanchez are trying to take our throne.
I was gonna say at least it's not Dirty Sanchez, because then we've got a whole new set of issues. Ooh.
That's a different vibe for sure.
I don't know. I saw Average Alejandro.
Yeah, Standard Jose, they're chomping at our heels as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's all these Mexican dudes out here trying to take your throne. I don't get it. I really don't. It's wild.
I think the gimmick just started. When we were doing shows and we would get put on the bill with Murgatroyd a lot. I don't know if you guys knew Murgatroyd. Cool dudes. But what would happen is they would always be put like above us on the bill, and I was like, oh man, they're like our rival band, like unintentionally. We'd never even really met them. It was just an unintentional rivalry. And then I think I just liked the idea of like a rival band, this Normal Rodriguez coming and stealing our shows and stuff just as a joke. I'm a big pro wrestling fan, so like I really like the silly storylines and the theatrics and the lore and the backstory. So idea of a band with like this fictional rival band that steals your gigs, I found very funny.
Such a good shtick.
So I think that's where, and then finally we had an excuse for Normal Rodriguez, where we're like, oh, they can be the long pants band, whereas we're the shorts band. So, yep.
That's awesome, though. I mean, and it's always a bit of fun, and you guys are very big into the memes. Obviously, anyway, if people follow your social media, they will get lots of memes, lots of stuff to.
Yeah.
You guys utilize that as a promotional tactic, which is. I mean,
I think we put a meme up one day to promote a gig, and it got more likes than anything else we'd ever posted. And I was like, I get it now. Like, I understand, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that tends to be the case on social media. Meme version stuff tends to get better reactions than.
Memes get a lot more interest than your actual music and your creative pursuit. Yep.
Yeah. But it's always fun to have a bit of a laugh, and if you can, promote your stuff as well as entertaining people at the same time, then why not? And I guess
people who take metal and like punk and hardcore seriously, like, what are you, 12? Like, come on, what are we doing? Like,
well, and that's it. Like, I mean, as you've said, you're a lot of the band name and a lot of the album titles and song titles is all kind of inside jokes about pop culture stuff. So it's I mean, it fits with your vibe, and I mean it's not just that either. Like on stage, you'll be up there wearing like fucking Hawaiian shirts and stuff on stage. So
yeah, that's it.
It's you guys are you're playing this really enjoyable like heavy music while doing it and you're serious about the music, but you're having fun with it and sort of poking fun at the people that take it a bit too seriously all at the same time.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, people do take music is serious. Music is a serious area of study, and it's it's a rich tapestry, and you can spend your life studying it and not even scratch the surface. But at the end of the day, it's entertainment. We're doing it for pleasure. We're doing it to make friends and to be involved in a community. And so yeah, why would you take it really seriously? Like it's fun. It's funny,
It is, and you hit the nail on the head when you said entertainment. I mean, once you got the music down packed and you get on stage, it's then your job to entertain people with your music.
Yep.
And whether that be through theatrics or just putting on one of the hell of a show and just moving around a lot, it's nothing worse than seeing a bunch of people stand on stage and not do anything.
Well, as a three-piece too, I really feel that I have to be moving around as much as possible. Like when you see a band and they're not really taking command of the stage, it can be a bit disappointing and it's not quite as exciting to watch. But yeah, when you see a band, it can be choreographed or it can be improvised. Like you could just tell if they're why would I as an audience member go nuts if the band themselves are not going nuts?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely. Feed off their energy. And we actually have some questions from Keel Mobile. She said, good evening, lads. Keen to hear a project Jesse would like to do in the future, different to his current.
Ooh, a project I'd like to do different to the current one. Let's see.
I mean, you're a pretty busy man as it is.
It's always been a dream of mine, and it kind of relates to a show we got coming up. But I would love to be involved in a System of a Down tribute thing. Man, I could
play.
Do
you want someone to play bass for that?
Dude, man, you're on bass. I'll be on drums or guitar or vocal, whatever. I don't care. I just want to be involved. I already know all the songs. Like,
hell yeah, man! Sign me the fuck up for that.
I can pull a switch. I can pull a switch. I can do it. I'll see.
Yeah, we got the band right here, lads. Let's do it. Yep.
Hey, well, Kyle, you've been learning guitar again, man.
But I still got the vocal chops, so I could do it. Give me a bit of chop suey to go.
That'd be awesome. I mean, I dabbled in learning some system covers way back. When I was sort of not in bands and I was just kind of jamming by myself. I learned some of those. I think I played. I actually even played BYOB as one of my entrance performance songs when I was going to study music at TAFE in New South Wales.
Yeah.
BYOB had been out not all that long, and I had to perform a few songs as part of the entry test for it, and that was one of the ones I picked. I'm just like, fuck it, I'm gonna just do that.
Well, good choice. There's a lot of variety, and it's not just a straight ahead song. So yeah, good choice.
Yeah. And for where I was at, it was challenging but not impossible for me to play. So I think that was it was a good choice. I mean, it got me in. So
yeah.
That's a very good question, Killmobile.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome question.
so much,
Probably that, or I'd like to go maybe just bit more hardcore, or like a convergy sort of thing, like a project like that. I think would be pretty cool. Maybe a bit more. So with Gons, it's all like it's still odd time and weird and proggy, but it's very slow and heavy chunky riffs. I might like to go a bit more convergy, hardcore, Dillinger-ish sort of thing, where it's a bit more chaotic. That'd be pretty interesting too.
I'd love to hear you
Sounds like
riffage
fun,
in
man.
like a metalcore band.
Yeah. My
That'd be
first project with Dane used to be the drummer of Osaka Punch, and a couple of mates. We had a band that was more in the line of that Dillinger sort of. Well, basically just trying to copy Dillinger Escape Plan, but yeah, much faster, much more chaotic, janky sort of riffs. That was super fun. I'd like to go back to something like that one day.
Well, variety's always good too. I mean,
Yeah.
like I've been in. You look at all the different the bands that I've been involved with, and they're all got their own unique vibe and style, and I get something different out of each of them. So I think there's always
Absolutely.
room for that over the years. And I mean, it's fun to have. It's cool to have like one main thing that you work on at a time. But I mean, as we mentioned, I mean, you're no stranger to being in different projects and running around in different things either, right? Like you play drums as well. So you're very very talented to be able to play multiple instruments like that. It's and you play some pretty heavy stuff on those drums there too, right?
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, so Adriatic is the band I drum in. We've actually got our second album, which is like a dual album thing. We put out the first edition, Corony, and then Krele is coming out later on this year, which is the second sort of side of the concept album. But yeah, that's all that Adriatic started as kind of like a Meshuggah clone, and then we turned into incorporating more sort of Balkan and Bulgarian traditional instruments and rhythms, and a bit more of a hardcore vibe as well. So, but yeah, so that's a pretty heavy project. I've been drumming with Adriatic for 5 or 6 or 7 years now. Yeah, and then I also have a side project with Paige, the drummer for Gons, called Audiomaky, and that was only a recording project, and that's just our playground for coming up with ideas that we've never heard before that we think should exist.
How do we spell that?
Audio and then Machy, so Audiomaky. That's on Spotify.
Killmobile's coming in hot with the questions. Guitar
Yeah.
tunings that you think are overrated, and the guitar tunings you think that are underrated.
Oh boy. I mean, I play in the heaviest of all tunings, which is drop D. So that's all you need. That's all you need, right? 6 string and drop D. That's all you need.
To be fair,
No, I think an underrated tuning is standard. Dillinger Escape Plan stuff is all standard, and they put out some of the most insane, heaviest stuff you've ever heard. So, yeah, I'm a champion for standard tuning. Adriatic plays 8 strings, and they're tuned down to a low F. It's just ludicrous.
I mean, you know what? I think I need to show that Adriatic stuff to Attila, one of my mates back in Sydney.
Oh, yeah?
He's a Hungarian background, and he would I think he would appreciate some of the more subtle sort of elements you were mentioning that was being thrown in there for sure. Because he
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Stoyan, our vocalist, he really brings the Balkan and sort of Bulgarian sort of influences and such. And we've got traditional Bulgarian vocalists on the first record and on this new one as well. They perform traditional Bulgarian like folk songs on the record, infused with our 8-string heaviness, which is pretty interesting. So yeah.
That's yeah. I think that stuff would be right up his alley. I mean, he was in. He's no stranger to doing some weird stuff. Like he was in a 3-piece called Cordea, and they were drums, bass, and vocals. So they had no guitar, but the bass player used like a fairly thin strings and would play lots of power chords and higher up stuff, and had a very very overdriven, very distorted bass tone, and kind of filled the space of both in there, and it was unique to say.
And
like obviously not for everybody, but
yeah, power chords on a bass, man. They're awesome. I love power chords on a bass.
Dude, me too, man. Me too.
Yeah.
Like I try and slip them in with stuff. actually one of the yeah, I try and slip them in here and there. It's kind of something that I like to do across just about every band that I'm in.
Yep.
But you know, so it's a way that I like to, if I'm trying to make a bass line from something else my own, that's one of the things I'll do is slip a few more power chords in here and there on accented bits, because it's something that I tend to do in a lot of places. So yeah, I always like to have fun with that, but I can't imagine trying to fill out the space without a guitar. You know, like
without a guitar, that's a different vibe again.
Very,
Yeah,
very daunting. Very, very daunting for sure.
It's because in your head, it's not meant to happen.
Well, I think that's
prerequisite that no, this isn't meant to happen. I'm not meant to do this.
Yeah, it's just my approach to the instrument. I think.
Yeah.
Is, you know, the way I've sort of been trained, the way I've come up on it and learned about it has always been as a support instrument, but a necessary one. You know.
Man, there are bands that just do the two-piece thing with drum and bass, or drum, bass, and vocals, make it work. You need some extra effect pedals maybe, or they'll run like a split amp sort of system. But my mates, I'll give a quick shout out to my mates in Blesher Graves. It's George on drums and Mitch on just the bass, and I think it's a 5-string, but the pedal board is like, you know, the size of a surfboard, and he just with all the effects and stuff, and makes it work. It sounds awesome.
Dude, I played a show with someone once, and they showed up with, like, I think it was literally like a pallet, like a wooden pallet they'd cut in half, and it was covered completely. And I like, it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. It was literally, that's what it was.
Yeah. We're not talking about Loki from Hippo, are we?
No. This is a friend of mine, Sai. I think they go by Lilith now. I'm not entirely sure, but it was a Static X tribute show that we did shortly after Wayne passed away. It was within a couple of months. Our friend Barnesy organized it, and it was literally like a bunch of, you know, super groups, for lack of a better term, all thrown together, and everyone's like, right, this is your album, you're doing 4 songs from this album. This is your album, you're doing 4 songs from this album, and we covered.
Cool.
Across the night, every Static X album was covered, and it was, you know, and it was like everyone shared as much gear as possible. The changeovers were like 5 minutes. It was literally like you unplug your shit and move your pedal board, and then someone else plugs their shit in, and then
that's how I like to run a gig.
And it was frantic with so many people and so much gear and so many changeovers, but it was a special night. Obviously, you know, in memorial of a very talented individual, so everyone was just kind of there focusing on that. But yeah, I was working with Sai for that, and it was just like, how much do you need? I just like I don't know, man. Like, I've got mine, and I have sort of 4 pedals and a power supply on there.
That's great.
Dude, I don't. How much more do you? I mean, I suppose that was several years ago, and the multi effects units were still not up to the standard they are now. I guess, which is, you know, now it's the idea that we were talking about it the other week, right? Like those old Line 6 beans, the red bean that used to.
Oh yeah, like, the pods. The
old Line 6 pod that was just like, you know, it was going to be a problem, and their guitar was going to sound shit. Whereas now, you know, Axe effects and all these units, Kempers and all these things people are using, and it's like, you just
now it's exciting. If a band's coming after you and the dude just brings like this one tiny thing, he puts it down, you're like, what is that? I bet that sounds amazing. Like, you're excited
like,
to see.
Oh shit, we're about to get fucked up now.
Yeah. You're like, oh, these guys are legit. These guys know what they're doing. Look at him. He didn't even bring an amp. It's all in the box.
Sorry. We shouldn't talk about this. Kyle gets. Kyle has a thing about not using amps. He's like,
okay.
You know, there's nothing like the reverberation of a real amp.
Look,
I still use an amp, Kyle. I still use an amp.
I know. You're an OG. My getting back into guitar, I understand. I completely understand. But you cannot tell me there ain't nothing better than having like a nice red hot tube amp that's been warmed up, plugged in, and that vibration you get. It's more for the performer on stage, I think. Like, everyone else gets front of house sound. You mic up your amps anyway, but for the people on stage, it's just it hits different.
Yeah, something about it.
And that,
Oh,
and
look,
to
yeah,
be fair,
definitely. And I
I
mean,
was looking at Misha from Periphery,
Yep.
and even though he has the full live setup, he actually runs it through a quad box as well. And every now and then, what he'll do is he'll take out his monitor headphones, or at least one, just so we can hear, like it's like a secondary monitor one for him on stage.
Yeah.
And he goes, sometimes
So
we
you-
just pop out the monitors and just vibe out and just, listen to it and just,
Totally.
I mean, look, yeah, I fully agree that, you know,
But as far as
performing
convenience,
on
fuck
stage,
amps.
if I've got like, if I've, you know, if I go to a venue and they've got, you know, the Ampeg fridge, I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be good.
Mm.
Yeah.
'Cause I know I got a solid fucking bass sound, and if I run that through the Ampeg fridge, even if I just have everything flat, that sounds enormous. It sounds huge. The way it shakes the room. Yes, I completely agree. There is, you know, there's something to be said for it, but you know, you can make arguments in favor of just about anything when it comes to musical stuff, right? Everyone's got their wheres and wherefores. I mean, I was talking to Jesse earlier where I'm sort of revamping a stage rack for some of our stuff, some of the stuff I'm involved with, just to make it a bit easier on us, and so we can have an ear system basically. But you know, it's there's always, you know, the rumble of an amp is definitely, you know, has its appeal there for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we mentioned obviously as well, you guys are playing a show tomorrow night.
Yeah. Pretty
That
keen.
one's down at Bad Luck in Fortitude Valley in Brisbane. So if you're around there, if you've seen what's going on, and I mean, as we said, that's got TaylorMade Rejects on there. We love the boys from TaylorMade. They're always amazing. We've got
Legends.
Dirty Brew and Mesmic as well. That's a hell of a show.
It is.
That
Dirty
really
Brew, Dirty Brew, pretty solid.
Yeah, Dirty Bro, great. The old keg metal. Got a lot of
Yeah.
time for Mick. He's an absolute champ. Mick.
Solid, man.
You'll see Mick, I'm sure, in his finest party shorts as well. He gets on board with the with the memes.
Yeah. So and I mean, Mesmic were in the Whack and Metal battle as well. They were in the competition for that. So, you know, I mean, it's a fucking stacked lineup. So if you're down there, definitely get onto it. I think it's like $15 at the door. So
that's
Yeah,
heaps.
15 at the door.
that.
Yeah,
And
Mick, because Mick helped to set the gig up. He's like, I don't want to stuff around with like Oztix or whatever. Like, he's just like $15 at the door. Come and go to a metal show. Like, just
Yeah.
He's just like, it's easy. You don't have to worry about your online tickets and all that sort of jazz. Just rock up, come for a show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say as well, I can see here, each ticket puts you in the draw to win a free carton of beer from Newstead Brewing Co. So
There you go.
win
See, that's
yourself
the
some
boon of knowing
free beer.
Mick, because I think he's a rep for Newstead Brewing now.
There
So
you go.
Oh hell yeah,
There
that's
we
even
go.
better.
Killmobile said, "Don't get Mick rolled up over amps versus DI."
yeah,
Hey, look, you know, when I was just looking at guitar pedals and stuff like that, man, they've got some really, really, really interesting pedals that can make your stuff sound like amps, and then you got really interesting.
See,
Then you got
this
really.
is what happens.
I know, but the cool thing
Start
is,
playing guitar again.
yeah,
Start playing guitar again, and then
Yeah.
the next thing it's you're looking at pedals and you're
Yeah,
looking at
I know,
amps,
it's
and then
happened.
it starts.
and then
and
Yeah,
some
you
of the
come down
power
with-
amps,
and then I'm looking at
some of the
Coming down
power
with
amps
the
you
case
can
of
get now,
gas.
yeah.
Coming down with the case of gear acquisition syndrome, my friend.
It's happening. It's happening. And I found two of them. One's the head pedal, and the other one's the box. So it's just got all these different speaker boxes you can pick, and then you can run it DI, the whole thing DI. And I'm just like, this is just the technology. Because I haven't played guitar in 20 years, so I haven't looked at it. I haven't really given a shit. Now that I've gotten back into it, I'm like, wow, the technology has really moved.
Oh yeah, man. My mate Michael V from I want to say Dragon's Mead, and before Nightfall from back in the day, he would go to Melbourne to do some shows, and his rig would be his guitar, a wireless unit, and his iPhone with iRig, and he was like, "That's the whole setup." Give it to the sound guy. That's his whole rig.
I mean, it gets to a
And that,
stage.
and
of
even
like,
that was years ago. So like now the tech is going to be, you know, you probably build it into a guitar and just be like, you know,
well, they have
That's
done
the
that.
next step,
They
right?
have done that.
You've got-
They've built a guitar where it's got everything built into it. And
hey, man, why
mean,
even tour? I'll just play a Melbourne show from the comfort of my own home.
I tell you what, I when I was looking at before I got my Ernie Ball Stingray, I was looking at they did like there was one they were doing like a dark ray model where they've got the Dark Glass Alpha and Omega bass preamp units like built into it.
Yeah, sweet.
So you can just like so you can just go literally if that's all you need is that for like a bit of extra grit and drive in your sound,
Yeah.
and the EQ with that, it's all built in, and you can just go straight from that into the DI, then to front of house in your amp, and you're good. Like you don't need anything. If it's a decent backline, you're sweet.
Yep, love it.
And that's what I
Ben
found too.
Ben Wyman, Ben Wyman's signature ESP guitar had a built-in wireless, which is pretty cool.
Oh, see, I think that's the next thing. I think the built-in wireless is, I think, going to be the next thing. But then you kind of have to have the right, like, receiver and
oh, well,
on stuff too as well. Which is, I mean, but if it's the right brand, then yeah, I can definitely see that working.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's built into it. So then it's another thing you got to take it in somewhere to get it fixed if it breaks or whatever. But
yeah, sure.
I mean, I can see it's probably a bit more secure being built inside of the thing rather than
that's
external.
it.
It's less cable jacks to worry about. As long as your solder's good, you're good.
Yep, and this is, I guess, the age-old guitarist argument that will never resolve. It's like some people like the new tech and stuff, but with every piece of new tech is another thing that can break. So, I can totally understand people just embracing tradition and being like guitar, jack, power amp. Like I can totally see that vibe as well.
I mean, I think one of the, like I as much as I try and I like to have some pedals on my board for my bass as well, and I mean bass pedals are something that's more contentious even than guitar pedals, right? Because a lot of guitarists, if you're playing heavy, it's like you need some sort of effects. If you're not running it through pedals, you're running it through the amp, and then you've got your channels, select the foot switch and everything. So that's, but bass is there's still a lot of people that are just like they just want to go straight into the amp head and get everything from there. And I'm like, that's fine, like that's cool. Yep. But there's a versatility I think that comes from using pedals. And what I've always found is if I use my board to craft my sound, I can sound like me playing through almost anything. Yeah. Which is one of the amazing benefits of utilizing a setup like that.
I write totally different music if I'm using a different setup. Like if I'm not running through my Digitic whammy, I'll write something that's not suited for Gons. Like it's if I'm using my Gon setup, then whatever I write will sound like I'll be steered in that direction because that's the sound that I'm sort of pulling. So yeah, but in that regard as well, it's interesting to try different setups and try just going straight in or try someone's surfboard pedalboard setup.
I like having a wah pedal for the bass.
Yep.
Which is a lot of people. I mean, it's not nearly as common for that, and it's like you say. I found that when I've when I've got one stuff that I've already written prior to having it for whatever the project is, I can find ways to insert it. But once you've got it and you're writing with it in the setup, the way you approach the writing is different because you're like looking for opportunities to use it and thinking about where you're writing with that in mind, which completely
you start to hear it. Start to hear it in your head before you've played it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is, and I mean that's super important. Like you say, and it's a great way that if people have writer's block, if you're a musician, a guitarist, bass player, whatever, and you got writer's block, try limiting yourself. Sometimes you got too many options, limiting yourself, changing your lineup. Maybe if you're used to working with a lot of pedals and switching stuff and whammy pedals and wire pedals and all sorts of stuff there, just try plugging straight into your amp and bypass all that and go, right, what can I write when I don't have that to lean on? And you'll approach it from a different angle completely.
Yeah, totally. Try just using one string, try writing a riff and then reversing it and seeing how it sounds. The thing I find with writer's block is because you can get stuck in your own head or whatever. You just gotta write a crappy song. You just gotta be like, this sucks, but I need to do this to get to the good stuff. So like, you got writer's block. You just gotta write the bad thing, show some friends, and they're like, that kind of sucks. You're like, yeah, I know, but now check this one out.
Yeah, exactly. If you write 100 bad songs, there's gonna be 10 of them that are actually pretty decent.
Yeah, or they might inspire the next good one. Who knows?
Yeah, precisely. Yep. You might take bits and pieces of them and evolve them into something else. I mean, like we're talking about the new metal mayhem tour. Like you look back at the stuff on Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat, and you can hear, okay, maybe they're not the best versions of the songs, but then you look at what they turned into, right? You look at what they inspired and how the songs evolved as Slipknot moved on to the next couple of albums. you can hear it all there. And there's some songs that still have never been used because they just kind of didn't fit on the new version of what Slipknot was. But and that's one of the reasons I'm so stoked that this whole tour is happening. The whole new metal mayhem tour is happening, right? Because
that's pretty rad.
like,
I'm so happy that new metal is back. Like,
oh, the new metal
Amen.
renaissance, man, it's
Amen.
real. It's real.
People are ragging on new metal for years, and maybe rightly so. But
No,
I'm so excited
no,
that it's back.
No, I disagree with all their poor statements and negative statements towards new metal. New metal is.
You know what? I remember I got.
I think before you go on, I think if it weren't for Fred Durst, new metal would never have left. It would have stayed around because it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it copped a bad rap a lot, and Limp Bizkit is a lot of what people associate with like negative around new metal came from. You know what? I don't even think it was so much for like I don't blame Fred Durst. Fred Durst is just doing what he enjoyed, but it was it was the appeal that Fred Durst's persona had to a lot of the like the frat boy
it was that immature sort of
and I think that is kind of what led to a lot of imitators coming along, much like with grunge, like Nirvana took off and you had all these grunge bands, and then after a few years when it became popular you had bands trying to jump on the trend after it was already popular, and then it just became it became oversaturated and insincere, and it kind of went away, right? Like, but I can remember buying in like, when was it? I must have been like 18, so fucking a while ago.
A couple of years ago then.
And I can remember buying a metal magazine at my local music shop, and they literally had like, and some people in the US had, but for shits and giggles, they'd held a funeral for new metal.
Yeah.
And it was in like this kind of church environment, and they had the casting out of the seventh string and like all this kind of shit. And I look back now and I'm like, that's pretty funny. At the time I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like new metal's like, but I'm like, all right, I get it now.
There was Meshuggah in the corner the whole time using 8 strings, just going.
Yeah,
okay,
they're going. You wait. Yeah. Or we'll just wait now, and that's the worst fucking. What is it? Swedish accent ever. I went into like a weird Indian thing there, I think. No one clip that. Please, no one clip that. It'll come out really, really bad. But yeah,
never do an accent on.
Yeah,
on Twitch,
never do an accent. I should know better. I should know better. But no, you're right, man. Like the new metal renaissance, I've called it. It's fucking real. It's here, and it's.
Is it like neo new metal? What would you call it? Because new metal is already it's already new. So what do we call it?
New metal revolution, wouldn't you?
Just new metal, I guess. Yeah.
It'd be like post-hardcore revolution, I guess.
That's just why I call it. That's why I just call it the new metal renaissance, because like it's what it is. It's the revival. It's well and truly back. You got so many bands all over the world now that the original new metal is like it's the cycle. It's that 20-year cycle, right? Like so 25-year cycle. It's all coming back around.
Yeah.
And like I love it. I really do, because the fact that people are embracing it now and going, you know what, we can have fun with it,
and that's it.
And this is a discussion like this that I've had plenty of times. Is I don't even consider new metal to be a genre descriptor. I consider new metal to be describing a period in time where bands just branched out. Because you look at a lot of bands that are typically considered new metal, you got Limp Bizkit, Korn, Deftones, like Slipknot, whatever. Yeah, you can rattle off a dozen new metal bands, and none of them really sound that similar.
No, that was the best thing about
it. Was just kind of like a great expansion where bands went, hang on, we can blend metal with all this other stuff, and it works. It's such a versatile genre, and people just went out and did that, and they made metal that sounded nothing like all these other bands, but they all got lumped into this one genre. Because of the period, because they were around the same period in time, and so that's kind of. But I mean, I do also understand that most people, when you say new metal, they think like rap metal type stuff.
But
that's
I think of new metal.
I still think Anthrax with a birth, with Bring the Noise, of really like, okay,
I can see that.
This is what you can do with metal.
I mean, yeah, if you want to get technical, you could go back to like when Aerosmith did like Walk This Way with Run DMC, which is not like metal necessarily, but it's
in that it's stepping in the right direction.
Yeah, and I mean,
I like this because now we've tied in my love of metal with my love of Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack, because that Bring the Noise was on the on the second, I think, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Yeah,
well, that's it. Like all those people that like grew up playing the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, we're all doing that now, and so you got all these people that have discovered it after the fact.
Yeah.
They've discovered it all up. Like, we grew up with it. We were there.
Yeah,
Like, we were there, man.
happen.
We were there.
We watched
Yeah.
it happen.
We experienced. we lived that shit. And now
Yeah.
we're starting to get this. Now we're sounding like those people that were there in like the 80s, that were there for like glam rock and fucking like for hair metal and heavy metal sort of coming into thrash metal coming to fruition. And it's like they get to say they were there for that. We get to say we were there for new metal, and everyone's and it's coming back, and it's like it's what it is.
People who are making music now who are maybe didn't experience that, and they
weren't even born then. They weren't even
come off
like
of
that.
sort of,
People that were born after
metalcore and then the sort of emo and scene sort of stuff, and now it's like, oh wait,
and that's what's coming back. That's gonna
Yeah.
come around again too. Like that's gonna be the next thing. Like that post hardcore stuff is gonna. I mean, I suppose that kind of hasn't gone away as much. It's more blending all together now, and you've got with all these bands that are just trying to get heavier and heavier, and that are just like, trying to get the deepest vocals and the craziest breakdowns and stuff, and that's kind of never really gone away.
Now they're just bringing the groove back. Bring the groove back,
I love to see it.
Groove. New metal. I think if there's anything you could say about new metal, you said it was mixing genres and it's hip hop or it's whatever as well. But man, it was groove based. I feel a lot of it.
100%.
Yep.
It was booty shit.
That's definitely a strong signifier of it as well. Is that groove being a big part of it? I think.
Yeah, I always call them bounce riffs. Like you think of like Nookie or like some of the System of a Down riffs too. It's like it's a bounce where it's just like everyone like doing this sort of
look at
the whole crowd just moving up and down at the same
Somebody, someone. The breakdown in Somebody, Someone when Jonathan Davis is at Woodstock and he's just throwing his arms backwards and forwards, and you're watching a sea of like 100,000 people, and it just works.
Yeah.
I mean, like new metal's my blood basically. Like I've played Korn tribute shows, Static X tribute shows, Limp Bizkit tribute shows. Like I've fucking done it, like that's I've been in that shit. So it's 100% like my bag. That's what I grew up like. 97 was when I started really taking an interest in music beyond I like what I'm hearing on the radio. Like I was kind of seeking stuff out. So that's it. Like I was in the shit. I was in the thick of it then. That was when I fucking started to discover it all. And like it was initially it was Metallica, but that led through to like Limp Bizkit and Korn and stuff becoming being on the top 40 charts, on the weekends on Rage, and then my friends being like, oh man, like I found this fucking band called Slipknot. They're so heavy. You got to hear it. You got like it's never gonna be on TV. Like you have to. Like,
well, everyone's got their own personal journey of like discovering their next like heaviest band. I love it. I love hearing this. Like you hear it because you do it as you're growing up. You hear this music, you're like, this is the heaviest. No one could be heavier than this. And then a month later, you're like, that baby wussy crap. Yeah, now I'm into real metal.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And now that I'm a bit more of kind of expanded, I'm hearing bands like. I'm going through that again because I'm hearing bands, like not that they're new necessarily, but bands that I listen to like Infant Annihilator, Black Tongue, Loathe, Lorna Shore, Slaughter to Prevail, like all these bands, and you're like, I mean, can you get heavier than that? Like I want to hear it. I want to hear
physically
it.
Do it.
I'm like, just keep bringing it, keep bringing it. Like, give me that shit that's in drop H tuning and like.
We're making new notes. We're making new.
It's like
we got a heavy metal scale.
Well, there was some YouTuber that does metal. I don't know if it was like Rob Scallon or Jared Dines, but it was like one of those kind of guys. And they did a heaviest breakdown ever series of videos, and it was like one beat per week. They did, and it's like so that he'd like literally it'd be a video, and it'd just be like, don't. And then that was it. And then the next week on the same day, he'd do another video with the next beat of the breakdown. And like the vocals was literally just like water going down a sink drain with the microphone near it that they've fucking pitched down. So it's really that like super low guttural sounding stuff. And I'm like, fucking, I love that shit. Cause it's just, and that's why I think I love bands that are so heavy, because if you're that heavy, you can't take yourself seriously.
No, totally. I wish I've lost it since I found it, but there was a YouTube clip of some band. It was a live show, and they play a 1 BPM breakdown, and it's live, so like they just go like gong and let it ring out, and it goes for a whole minute, and then they hit the next note. I'm like, this is the best thing ever.
It's so much fun, and I just like that's why I like discovering music that's pushing those just pushing the boundaries. Not just like in that regard, but if you've got a type of metal or and that's one of the reasons like as you said, metal's so versatile. It can mix with just about anything, and you like if you find me a version of metal that's mixed with something I haven't heard before, like please, I fucking beg you because I live for that shit. That's where I'm at now, and I'm especially into it if it like pisses off the elitists. Stuff like you give me the baby metal, I fucking love that shit. Like people
that
hate baby.
upsets people so much. I love baby
It
metal.
upsets
What
people
kids
so
love
much,
baby
they get
metal?
so fucking mad. Or like, Bloodywood, which is out here mixing like Punjabi stuff and traditional Indian sounds in with metal, or and just all these bands that are doing, and you're like, and okay, bands like System of a Down were doing that with Middle Eastern vibes fucking 20 years ago. But the fact that it's expanding and that's the good side of the expansion of music on the internet and social media and streaming services is it's made it a lot easier for fans to find that stuff and for bands to get it out there for people. So
totally.
And that's what I live for. Like I'm like, send me that shit, please. If people know about these crazy bands that you think or maybe you haven't heard of, send them to me, please.
You remember that metal mariachi band, don't you?
What? You might have. Did you show it to me? I don't.
Oh, there was a heavy metal mariachi band.
Yeah, I'd be into that.
Oh, I'd love that.
I'm sure they're on YouTube.
Definitely.
I'm sure they're on YouTube.
And also the proliferation of comedy metal as well. Like Tenacious D made it kind of, not that they were necessarily the first ones to do it, and theirs is more like a variety of like rock and metal and just I think they're very much a comedy act first and a band later.
Yeah.
But the idea of
I think Tenacious D is really interesting because you're right, they are a comedy band first, but man, they back it up with the music. Like it's not.
Dude, he's solid.
Oh yeah.
It's not like a. What else can I think of? Comedy band like Tripod or something. It's like you're not there for the riffs or for the tune. You're there for the funny lyrics and the the jokes. But Tenacious D, man, you could almost strip the vocals out, and I'm still like, that's a banger of a song.
Oh yeah, they bring it back, and the fact that as well that they they'll go to shows and play like. I don't know if you've seen it or not. There's a video where they play, I think, the first chord of "Fuck Her Gently," and the audience just starts singing it.
They just do the whole thing.
They're not playing it. They're not playing it. The audience just singing it to them.
Yeah.
But bands like Psycho Stick as well, like they're out there doing the comedy metal thing, which is really good. I saw a video today someone sent me, and it was a band where the whole gimmick is that they're like hospitality workers, so like bar staff or kitchen staff, and they're there in like hospitality type getup on stage. And one of my friends from back in Sydney, he told me an idea he had that he always wanted to do was a band of tradies. So like everyone in the band dresses like a different trade, and all the songs are about like having like tradie life.
Isn't that just that band that done YMCA?
And
but that's
basically you make a metal version of like Village People. Everyone's a different tradie. There's like Aussie tradies in like the fucking the stubby high vis vests or polo shirts and hard hats and the fucking the wraparound sunnies that they all wear, and you can have your guy with a fucking smoke hanging out of his mouth, not lit, but
the drummer has to play with the drummer has to be a plumber and play with pipe,
and so.
Yeah, that's
stuff
good.
like that, or at the very least, have like a couple of bits of PVC with the thongs there to.
Yeah.
But like, I reckon some shit like that would go, and you could even do that and have them be like a covers band, but change the lyrics.
Yeah.
Like do cover songs, but make them about, literally do like instead of literally do a whole version of it's a long way to the shop if you want a sausage roll, or like. You know what I mean? It's all that kind of shit, and I think.
Oh man, what about like Australia's very own Dr. Colossus, the Simpsons stoner band? Just awesome. Or Okilly Dokilly, which is the Ned Flanders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keel Mobile said, reminds me of 12-Foot Ninja or Mr. Bungle with the genre blending stuff. Done so well. 100%.
And also the comedy too, especially with 12-Foot Ninja. Like
they're so funny.
And Mr. Bungle as well. Yeah.
Still heartbroken. Yeah. Still heartbroken. Recorded today.
Yeah, that still hits different, that breakup.
Yeah,
Or hiatus.
they were like
Hiatus.
hiatus, but yeah, 12 Foot Ninja is just
Yeah, they-
such an incredible band.
Yeah.
They did such good stuff. And I mean, I think I got to see them live once at Download in 2019
Oh, okay.
in Sydney. I caught him at that one, which was really good. I kind of I was late to the party with 12 Foot Ninja and got to see him like that one time, and then obviously COVID happened and it kind of fucked up everything, and then they split up. So.
I saw him
Which is
when
a
they
shame.
just got their second guitarist, and then I saw him a second time and got to meet them, but I was so fucking trashed.
And you know what? Like the thing I love about 12 Foot Ninja is they're just like they're the perfect example of the amount of talent that exists in Australia. That just if like so many bands, if you would literally like transplant the band exactly as they are to the US, they would go fucking gangbusters because they've got the access to the people.
You
Got
would
the
kill
access
it.
to the
You would
market.
kill it in the
Like,
regular
oh,
Gonzales
yeah,
would kill it
absolutely.
in the US. You would tear.
You guys were based in the US and could do the US tours and really get yourselves out there that way. You guys would be fucking smashing it.
They'd love.
Guaranteed,
Oh
like-
man, the whole thing. They just love the whole thing.
Yeah. I think it'd be an incredible thing, and it's and so many like I know bands have tried to do that as well. Like I know Dark Cell went over and kind of did a tour over there, carting around in an RV,
Haters are doing
playing
it
a
at the
bunch of
moment.
shows there. They had Haters are over in Canada at the
Canada at the
moment doing
moment.
that, which is really cool. So but it's obviously it's so expensive to do. It's so hard to get across there and do that shit.
Well, that's
but-
the thing. You got to live it. It's not like you can just go there for a
Yeah,
weekend. You
absolutely.
Gotta live
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like,
You have
gotta
to-
live
Yeah,
it.
to go
that's
over
it. Yep.
for several months and do it, which is hard, especially with their visa system and everything as well. And it just becomes such a chore to try and make
Yeah,
it
and
work.
I get a little bit frustrated or a little bit bummed out sometimes when you look at what Gonz has done. It's like, well, we've got a bit of a meme and a bit of a following going in the Brisbane scene, but like we haven't done an interstate show. Like we started, as I said, 2016, 2017. We still haven't done an interstate show. We haven't done any touring.
2 years of that aren't counted.
We've played like one show in Bundy. Other than that, it's only Brisbane and Gold Coast. Like, but it's because we just, I don't know. It's a lot. It's hard to do. You really got to have a passion for it. You really got to be working a lot. In the band and make it happen. And we're just happy to. This year especially, I sort of took a step back. I was like, I'm just happy to do the things that are fun. So there's like writing big dumb riffs, making the memes, playing shows as they come up. Like anyone asks us to do a show, I don't have a thing where I like they're too big to play this show or whatever. It's like if we're free, we're playing it. Like lock it in.
That's a good attitude to have.
That's awesome.
There's one show we knocked back, I think, last year. Just because it was like an all-day thing, and the spot that was on offer was like 12 o'clock on Saturday, like opening, and I was like, dude, I'm not saying we deserve better, but like my heart can't take playing to an empty room at 12 o'clock on a Saturday. Like I'm just not in the right mental space where I can do that this time around. So.
And I'm still Devo that we couldn't make that that birthday show didn't end up happening last year either.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
To be on that, like that came up in my memories. Like I was going through
Oh,
my
no.
memories a little while, like last week, and I'm like, oh.
When the memories pop up and they bum you out, that sucks.
Yeah, it was disappointing. It was disappointing because that would have been a crazy show. I think we would have got really wild there.
And like we'll make something happen. Like
Dude,
the only thing that stops me from putting on gigs is my complete lack of organization. Like
you do a lot of good stuff with in terms of like the schema stuff.
Yeah, man. Honestly, with the schema stuff, I rock up and I set speakers up and I make things loud. Like I'm the sound guy for the show. But, but man, like Ryan and Rashid and Stoyan, they are the powerhouse behind schema. Like they are in the venues, they get in the bands, they're making things happen, and they tell me where to go, and I turn things up. That's my job in schema.
So for those who aren't aware, just give us a bit about Schema Collective and what that is and what the sort of aims are there.
Yeah, sure. So Schema Collective started around 2017, somewhere around there, with just us in Gonzales and Adriatic, Rashid in Massic at the time, and Dr. Parallax, a couple of other guys, Simon from Massic as well. And we were just like kind of sick of being the bands that are too weird or don't really fit in with the metal scene, like the Bris metal scene. So we're just like, let's just start putting our own gigs on and our own friends up, finding the weird bands that aren't really getting a chance and showcasing, what the weird side of Brisbane can do. And it sort of took off. We put on some shows, started doing some regular shows at Fat Louie's. I did a couple of charity shows, raised some money for like homeless shelters and some local charities. And then Stoyan started getting some funding and some sponsorships involved with Brisbane City Council and Kids Helpline. So we got a bit of money behind it, which was sick, which means we can put on these shows. We don't have to charge entry. We can pay the artists. Last year we put on, I think, 10 or 12 skate park gigs where we were just putting punk bands in skate parks in Brisbane, paying all the bands, paying skateboarders to come and do skate demos with the funding we had. And yeah, we're just looking at doing more stuff. We did a couple of SCHEMA festivals as well. So we did like a really successful show at the Bright Side in 2019, I want to say. We had some great bands and forged some really good relationships. So yeah, it's just we're just putting on shows and doing cool stuff and giving people who some of these bands it's their first gig. One of the shows we did at King Lear's Throne, the first band, the bass player was 14. It was their first ever show. The bass was like as big as he was. Like it was sick. It's so much fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can speak from personal experience too. Like, I mean, we Skunkbone, we came and played one of these a little while back.
Yeah, you guys did with the Cooperoo, was it?
Yes, yeah, we came to Cooperoo Skate Park.
Yeah.
And that was a hell of a lot of fun because, like, well, the weather was we were giving the side eye to the weather for a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
But,
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
But the whole vibe,
came off
the whole
in the end,
vibe was really good. Like, it was
Yeah.
just everyone was having a great time. There was, like the whole all ages thing. There was, the skate demos, and we were just playing there, and people were skateboarding around, and it was a new experience for us playing in that kind of environment, not just with Skunkbone, but in any of our bands that we'd been in.
Yeah.
And it was just really fun, and kids doing, getting inspired by something that is positive and is gonna hopefully, whether it be the skating or the music or whatever they do, it's like, hey, this is kind of fun, like, and they maybe keeps them away
it's
from
the community aspect that we would with schema that we were trying to forge. We kind of were sort of looking at the Brisbane scene and being like, it is weird how like there's a punk scene, there's a hardcore scene, there's a metal scene. There's not much crossover. Like the Briz metal, like Mousy and like the Shredfest and all that, like that crew is kind of very separate to the punk and hardcore scene, like Strange Fiction and I'm so not even the scene. I can't even name the bands, but like there's, but we all should be working together to make the scene bigger. Because how many times have we played shows to 20 people and you're like, man, a good show, but people just don't know about it, or people, aren't coming together. And that's what we're trying to do with Schema, and we've found that we're putting on these skate park shows, and some of the bands where it's their first gig or they've only had a couple of gigs. They're younger as well. They'll bring friends, which is always cool. But then those bands will start talking to the other bands there. Now they're putting on their own shows. Lunchtime, Constance runs a venue now, and she's putting on her own punk gigs.
And those kids at Lunchtime, that's crazy. That's an amazing story with that, because they've been around since they were like in fucking high school, right?
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
And they're still going now that they're all out of high school. They're all doing that, and they're just now they're all adults doing their own shit with it, and they're still going, which is that's fucking impressive.
They were already performing, and then we had them on a few shows with Schema, and were so impressed with their energy and what they were doing. We kept putting them on, so they ended up playing a bunch of Schema shows, and then they started putting on their own shows, and now I'm like, man, how do I get on a Lunchtime show?
Yeah, right. Like,
you owe me.
Yeah.
I made
no,
you.
not that you owe me. I'm genuinely like, man, these shows are kicking off. I got to find out how to get involved in this crew now.
No, it's good.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
It's so good to
awesome.
see that you guys focus on a community thing. And you're right, it is lost. And that was sort of when Raph was living in Sydney and we were both in separate bands and stuff like that. You could see that starting to die off, because there was a good handful of bands, and we all knew each other. We all loved each other. We all loved playing shows together, and we'd all bring each other, like we'd all bring friends together, and it work out well. And for some reason, it was really weird when we weren't on those shows together. The crowds weren't as big.
Yep. Yeah.
And it started to tail off, and unfortunately, because we kind of came up, because we were coming up in stuff towards like the, it was like, like late Well, I started doing stuff with Kazi for Tensions Arise like 2008, and we started gigging 2010, and that kind of through the first half of the 2010s, like it was really good at 2010, and then it kind of just was like started to drop off there. But I think efforts like what Schema Collective is doing helps that sense of community in Brisbane and helps to keep that alive.
Hopefully, man. I mean, if you see a flyer for a show and like maybe you recognize one or two of the bands, you're like, oh, that might be a cool show. You don't know anyone who's going, you might just give it a pass. If you know there's like 30 people that you know and you like hanging out with are going to be there, man, you're going to go to that show, you know?
But this is the thing I've always said, like since moving up to Brisbane and starting to play shows in Brisbane, like not just the shows I've played, but also the shows I've been to, right? I'd say the people that like, and look, I was ignorant about it when I was in Sydney too. I was ignorant about it, but fucking Brisbane is the place to be at the moment. Every show I've been to in Brisbane, whether I've just been playing on it or just attending it, there's a band that has made me go, holy shit, where have they been?
Yeah, where have these guys been? Yeah.
There's so many bands, and you know, you're in the shit with it. Like you're even out there way more than I am, and so I'm sure you've seen this as well. But it's like, and you know, I say this ad nauseum on this fucking podcast. So if people tune out this statement, that's fine. Like I've said it enough times. But like the kids that are coming up now, that are like 18, 19, 20, 21, that fucking age bracket that's coming up now and getting out there and playing shows, they, for the most part, are way more on top of how the business works than any of us were at that age.
Oh man, yeah.
And they are gonna fucking take shit over.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
like,
it's
gonna change the fucking industry. It is.
It'll take a while, but it's definitely the scene is coming back. I think we're noticing for sure, and it is the younger bands that are impressing us the most.
Yeah, like I'm out there and I see bands and I look at bands like, I mean, again, this is a go-to I fucking always mention. I'm like Acid Cherry, like those girls are fucking incredible, and they absolutely have the potential to, and they have the talent to fucking go places. And whatever happens with them, whether they decide to pursue that or not, that's a different story. But like that is a band that is like, people need to be fucking paying attention to them, because if they're not, they're missing out. And then those of us that were paying attention are going to be able to say like, fucking, we were there at the start of it. Like we were there when they were playing small shows to that stuff, and then there'll be, so it's crazy. But the like Brisbane music scene, rock and metal scenes and stuff, it's just fucking on fire right now. The amount of talent
that's it. I think the
old and young is incredible.
Yeah, I think the younger bands are getting it right, but I think the biggest barrier really is just getting the word out, man. Because like if a bigger, like an international act comes and plays whatever, Trifford, Tivoli, whatever, they'll sell out. Like the fans of metal are here.
Yes.
They just don't know about the local shows. Like
that's the thing.
I speak to people all the time. No
fucking excuse to turn around and go, I don't know that band. Go on Spotify.
Yeah, that too. But you got to get people interested. Like people, it is easy to do, but it's easy to do, but you've got to want to seek that out. Man, it's people's energy and motivation in the current situation where everyone's friggin' broke and no one can do anything. Like it's hard to get excited for something you don't know. But
this is something too, though, because there's, like I said before, like I'm still constantly trying to seek out new stuff. I'm always wanting to, like, people to show me new shit, right?
Yeah.
And that's an effort that I'm making. That's a conscious choice that I'm making, because they reckon, what is it? By the time you're sort of about 30-ish, your musical taste most people, it starts to stagnate. Most people, it's kind of set, and they listen to what they listen to, and that's kind of it, and they don't find new stuff anymore. And being a musician, that's could be why it's a bit different for myself and for you guys as well. Maybe, you know, as musicians, we're out there, we're exposed to a bit more of it, so it might be easier for us to find this stuff.
I think that's definitely the case. Yeah.
You know, like that's one of the reasons that I'm always on the hunt for new stuff. I'm always on the hunt for the next thing, like the next cool thing to show me, because I don't want my tastes to stagnate.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
You
I think
know,
that
I
also
don't.
comes to our approach. Do you know what I mean? We're always looking for new inspiration, new ideas, where other people, consumers just want to
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
stuff and just want to make it. Oh, it makes me feel happy. I relate to this.
yeah.
Yep.
And if you're going out there and, you know, playing shows, you're going to be experiencing new bands. If you're going, and that's just all it takes. That's literally all it takes. Like, go to a few shows a year, and you will find so many new bands in your you know, that you could, that are just going to blow you away. And almost all of them are likely, except the very freshest ones, almost all of them are going to have something out there that you can listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a really good
And-
approach to take on that is find something familiar. If you find something familiar with a new band, you will automatically grab onto them, and you'll expand on it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you find a band that it's in their description, it says for fans of, you know,
Yeah.
such and such, and you're like, oh, I like those dudes. I'll give these guys a go. Yeah, and something clicks. I still remember like when I was a little kid, mum and dad. So dad's a drummer. That's how I learned to play music. But they were in rock and roll bands, so we would get dragged to. You know, they didn't have a babysitter, so we get dragged to their rock and roll sort of gigs. And you know, they'd always be playing cassettes of their friends' bands in the car. And when you're a little kid, you don't know that, you know, your mum and dad's friend's band is not on the same level as the Spice Girls or whatever else is on the radio. You're just like, it's
yeah.
just music. So for ages, I assumed these, you know, these just friend bands were like some internationally successful act or something, or that everybody knew them. And as I grew up, I'm like, oh, hang on a second, these guys aren't internationally touring. This is just, you know, a couple of mates of mum and dad's down the road that are just jamming on these tunes. But these songs still stick with me, you know. I'll be clearing out a cupboard and I'll be like, wow, you know, a Go Getters CD or something. These guys are amazing. And it's like that nobody knows who the Go Getters are. Like, you know, yeah, they disbanded 15 years ago, and yeah.
All right. So let's look.
We have been
We kind of normally be in the segments by now. This is just it's
Gabbing
so
for a
fun
while.
trying to
That's
talk
good.
to you. Yeah, yeah.
Good conversation.
This is awesome. I looked at the clock and I'm like, how the fuck is it that much time? But yeah, let's head into the first segment, or the segment that we got, Kyle.
I'll hit the thing. I'll hit the thing.
If you're ready, hit the thing, please.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
Yeah, it worked.
All right. Wicked. They worked. That's all. It was a plus. Always a plus. So this is the quick question quarter, spelt with Q's, not K's, because we don't fucking roll like that around here. But this is a bunch of rapid fire questions for our guests, so that the fans of the podcast and the fans of Adriatic and regular Gonzales can get to know you a little bit better, get to understand a little bit more about what makes you tick musically and where your inspirations come from. So
Cool. I'm pretty sure the fans of my bands are like already close friends of mine. Like that's the only fans we had, so we probably
there you go. But all right, so
let's explore together.
I think you kind of answered out this first question a moment ago, but the first instrument that you ever learned to play, that was drums, wasn't it?
Drums. There's a photo of me in the first Adriatic album. I'm 18 months old, sitting at a drum kit. I've been told that I wasn't playing the drums, but I could mum and dad could put a song on the radio and I would tap along with it in time.
There you go.
Good.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
What was the first album that you ever purchased?
First album I purchased with my own money was System of a Down, Steal This Album.
Oh, well, you're not filling the mission there, mate. Like you didn't.
I didn't steal it.
No,
I bought it.
Wow. So that was okay. So either
That was after Toxicity.
yeah. So either
That was their B-side.
you're younger than I thought you were, or you bought your first album really late.
I was quite late to having money and buying music and such. I did have a couple of CDs, Offspring and Living End. Maybe I'd bought Living End and Offspring before that. That's the first one that I remember buying and then being really hyped when I was listening to it.
That
but
was a game changer.
No, fair enough.
that was the one that that was
that's
maybe the one that sticks out. But
No,
you're
fair
probably
enough.
right. Now that I'm digging deep with this rapid fire question.
I mean, look,
Probably-
I'm not trying. You're the one that gives the answer. I didn't mean to come across rude or anything by
I
questioning
know
that there. I just, like,
you unlocked a bit of a core memory there, but yeah, it's probably like Living End, Roll On, or Modern Artillery, or Offspring, Conspiracy of One, or not Splinter. Someone gave me Splinter as a gift. I never forgave them for it. Yeah, somewhere around there. Offspring, Living End, System of a Down.
Nice.
Somewhere in that.
Whoa.
Sorry, guys,
shit.
that's my camera. I'm too excited
Alright.
with these rapid fire questions.
What was the first live concert that you attended?
That I do know. Oh, yeah, no, that was the
I mean, I
Offspring.
suppose for you it'd be a lot of them would be, you could say like your parents' ones, but like if we're going
Yeah.
with
Yep. Yeah, you're right. First gig I would have been mum and dad playing in Who's Shout at some RSL club, listening to 4 hours of Elvis and Buddy Holly covers. Good stuff, but no,
Alright.
first legit sort of concert was the Offspring at River Stage when I was 13 or 14.
That would have been
That
the
was-
Americana tour.
They had just released Splinter, I believe, or just off the back of Conspiracy of One.
Okay, that's pretty good. Now look, we know you already play a few instruments, so I'm keen to hear your answer to this one. What's an instrument you've always wanted to learn but haven't yet?
Piano.
Piano, okay.
Keys.
You know,
I think it's
that comes
it's a,
up all the
it's
time.
a fundamental songwriting
It is.
tool that I just
It
do
is
not
100%.
possess.
Piano was my first one. Piano was the first instrument. I mean, I dabbled on Dad's guitar, but piano was the first instrument I properly learned.
Yep.
You know, like 5 years of it, including theory and everything, and
Cool.
like the fun, as you say, the fundamental understanding of music that it gives you is so different to just about any other instrument. It's really crazy. Not that
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to say like I'm better because I learned piano first. That's not what I'm saying. Like I'm fucking.
Oh, man,
horrible.
you hear the meme of someone who, the
Yeah.
joke of where someone doesn't want to learn music theory because they think it will limit their creativity. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I've been held back so much by not learning piano and not understanding how music theory
It's-
works.
I'm going to throw
is
this out there
really
for
good
anyone that
for-
says that you're lazy. Go get your theory done.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like,
It just it helps so much, man.
Understanding
Yeah.
intervals is crazy because you go, okay, well, you understand why a chord sounds a certain way or
Mhm.
how to create a sound, and you go, okay, well, if that works that way, then what can I do this? Or even something simple as chord inversions. If you want to learn about music theory, if you're worried theory is going to limit you, no, go out and look into chord inversions, and it will open up a whole fucking new world of songwriting for you, and it will change the way you play your instrument.
Absolutely.
it's-
There's a YouTuber,
even that one aspect of it.
YouTuber and musician Ben Levin, who has done some just cool tutorials and lessons and stuff. I think he's friends with Adam Neely, who is like, music theory meme based god at this point. But Ben Levin's stuff is really interesting. He just approaches it from a different angle, but it's every time you learn something new, you unlock a new skill, and then you go and write a new song, and you're like, I never would have thought of this idea, because you have more knowledge. Yep.
Like the looking at even like expanded thirds on bass. So like not where it's just a third, but where it's like an octave, and then it like you go an octave up, and then you go up a third from that.
Yeah,
from
cool.
The root note of it is like that's an incredible way, and it's not as doable on a 4-string, but when you're dabbling into a 5-string or a 6-string, you've got the room to do that, and that can completely change the vibe of a section of music. So
I think one thing that made me rethink everything is just the idea that there's no wrong note. Like every interval has its own sound, its own personality, its own vibe. So if you're writing a song and you want to take it into a dark place, it helps to know what intervals and what harmonies you can use to achieve that sound.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
rather than just fumbling around until you stumble upon it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, as next question, if you could
That
pick
was rapid.
if you could pick one big band or artist to open a show for, who would it be? Now, this before you answer, I'll give you some context around this one. So, this can be literally anyone, living or dead, active or not, whatever era of the band you would prefer. Just literally, if you could bend space and time and open for any band or artist, who would it be?
And I almost don't have to bend space and time because it wasn't too long ago that members of my 2 favorite bands of all time have come together and started making music and touring. But it's the Lovers, which is sort of a combination of some of Every Time I Die and the singer from Dillinger Escape Plan. If I had to pick 2 bands, I would love to open for Dillinger, and I'd love to open for Every Time I Die. And now they're making music together.
Yeah, they're making music. That's pretty crazy, man. Well, hey, maybe it'll happen. I don't know. Keep an eye out. If they got an Aussie tour, fucking get the fans, get the Gons, the Shorts Army to fucking spam them and be like,
Get 'em
oi,
on.
Get him
If
on.
anyone knows anyone from Every Time I Die, and if anyone knows Greg Puciato, man, give him my name because
Yeah,
that'd
absolutely.
be insane. I would probably die after the show. I would just die. I'd be like, well, it's not getting better from here, so I'm out.
Yeah. Uh, who is an artist or band that you're listening to at the moment that you think is underrated and deserves more attention?
Ooh, my first thought was a band called the Callous Boys. Yeah, great name. But I think they're getting a lot of attention at the moment, so they're maybe not as underrated as they once were. Like they're kicking off and it's going really well.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna keep it local for a sec, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Dr. Parallax.
Dr. Parallax.
Hideously underrated. You can search for him, but man, Rashid still has not released their EP, so it's
Oh shit!
he's been
That's what
working
I'm
on it
saying.
for
I'm searching for it, but it's I can find there's a YouTube channel, but it doesn't look like
Yep.
it.
Yep.
I have
So
heard that's a name I've heard. I don't think I've
yeah.
played
Yep.
with them or seen them, but
Well, I will once again call out Rashid on a live stream. Release the Dr. Parallax record. Put it out, dude. The world
do it.
needs to know.
Do it. If you need someone to take a final pass at it, mixing and mastering wise, I'm just
Yep.
I'll do
Yep,
it.
dude.
Anyway, what is something that people may be surprised to learn about you?
Oh man.
Yeah, we're getting to the pointy end now.
Yeah. Maybe that's people who probably don't know me super well, that I am really quite anxious and quite introverted. I think I put up a bit of a front if I'm at a show, and I try to be more friendly and more forthcoming. But man, it's it's a struggle. It's a lot of hard work to
I think you described
to present
about
that.
75% of metal musicians in that one,
Yep.
dude. It's
Yep.
everyone. I'm the same, man. Like I'll be like,
Totally.
all right, cool. I've played my set. I'm going home. Like I want
And
to.
man,
Not out of
I
being
think
rude, but like that desire of like, okay, I've expended all of my
yeah.
extrovert energy on stage,
Mm.
being that version of myself, and I've got that out.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go back and be inside, now.
And I would say if you watching at home, if you are also like that, try and put yourself out there even a little bit. Try and make friends with an extrovert. If you can get adopted by an extrovert and they start talking about you and involving you in conversations, it'll boost your confidence and you will make new
Makes it a
friends.
lot easier. It
And
works.
it helps.
so
But
much
yeah,
better.
it's tough. But yeah, I think that might be one thing that could surprise some people if they've met me a few times. And yeah, if they have thought I've been quite friendly or it's extroverted. It's the classic thing, I front a metal band and I don't want to talk to anyone ever. But I do.
So,
But
all
I
right.
do.
You've been around for a little bit doing music with a few different bands. So I'm keen to hear your response to this one. Although, you're right into the meme shit, so it might not be. You might not even have one. What is the cringiest band name or song name that you've ever been connected with?
First band was called Smoked Fish. I don't know why. That's pretty bad. What was some? My first legit band, like we were gigging around probably 2006, 2007. It's called Incinna, which means like yeah, Incinna. It's
Oh,
bad,
wow.
dude.
Okay, okay.
Man, I still stand by some of the songs we wrote. There's some good stuff in there. There's some good
We've
riffs.
we've all got them. We've all
Yeah.
got them. Like
Yeah.
and this is why I
Incinna.
love asking about it.
I
'Cause,
wonder
like,
if any of that stuff's still out there. I'll send anyone who wants it the Incinna EP.
oh,
And the
please.
funny
Let me
thing
know.
is, I'm actually constantly reminded about my cringe name right behind me.
What is it like?
It's
What's the cringe name?
Demelic.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I still have on my computer, or on a hard drive somewhere, like the original group chat where we were trying to come up with the band name, and we had like this big list, and Incinna was the coolest one out of the list.
What were the
Yeah.
rest?
Yeah, there's like 15 other names that are just awful.
I mean, look, here's the thing. Like, I love going through this because if I look back through, like, the early Tensions Arise stuff, we have some of them. I mean, look, some of the stuff we put out has, some pretty cringy names, but there's some songs like that we had that we never released that we're working on, and it's stuff like Hollow Without a Meaning.
Yeah, love it.
Idle
Love it.
Threats, Not Like You, Cry Louder, and it's also fucking like
Give me these names again, because I'm gonna Google them, and I bet they're an existing band.
Oh, the bet you want to see the band? Okay. Idle Threats was
Idle
one of them.
Threats, I can guarantee
That's
that's a
almost
band.
definitely something. That's almost definitely something.
And
But
Idle
we
Threats,
had like
singular. That's a band. Yep.
yeah.
Man.
Not Like You was one of the songs that we had.
That's definitely a band name.
Not Like You.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. There's so many of them out there, and like
My little brother had a like went to start a punk band when he was heaps younger. With him and his little mate, they were going to start a 3-piece, and that I thought the name was very clever. It was called Left Lane Ends.
Left Lane Ends. Here's the thing about band names: they can be dumb, they can be goofy, they can be cringy, whatever. But like,
yeah.
Silverchair, that's a dumb name. But like, man,
It was misspelling. Silverchair was a misspelling, right?
Yep.
It
Well,
meant to be?
It was meant to be Sliverchair because they wanted to combine like Sliver as like huge Nirvana fans, right? So they wanted Sliverchair to be the thing. It got misspelt, and it was Silverchair, and that's how they
I
became
just
fucking
went with
Silverchair.
it. But yeah, there's tons of dumb band names. But if the music's good, if you're doing well, who cares?
But you know what though? It's only cringy if you don't make it.
Yeah,
it's
only cringy if you're unsuccessful. Yeah,
and then it's normalized. It's completely normalized, right? It's only cringy because you're unsuccessful.
Well,
all right.
Regulate Gonzalez is a dumb name, but we're so used to it now. It's fine.
Bro,
It's funny. It's memey. It's like
Corn.
Yeah.
But it's normalized, so it's fine. Yep, exactly.
I mean, one of the names that, we talked about this as well. Some of the early names that Slipknot was throwing around before they kind of became Slipknot is like, some of those are pretty fucking horrible. Like, it's just crazy. All right, so last one of the quick question quarter here. If you could give your younger self one piece of music-related advice, what would it be?
That's tough. Hey, probably.
I would imagine you've had a lot of good musical advice given to you over the years, anyway, coming from a musical family.
Yeah. In terms of the actual music itself, yeah, for sure, definitely. I think music-related advice, would be to try and like form that network earlier on. Like, I only really started trying to put myself, like you mentioned before, about go to a gig, you want to play, and then you go home. Like, and I did that for.
Sometimes it's so easy to give into that temptation. Sometimes.
Man, I did that from like 2005 to 2015. Like, and didn't get anywhere and didn't meet anybody. And I was like, man, look at all these bands who have started after us and now they're taken off. I'm like, what are they doing that I'm not? And I was like, oh wait, they're meeting people. Like it's if you're going to a gig and there's a bunch of bands that you've never heard of versus a gig where you're friends with that band, you're going to go to your friend's set. So if you as a musician make a lot of friends, those friends will come to your gig and then it'll be a better show. And then your friends will be at your show. Like, it's when people say like, oh, the music industry, it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know. It's like, yeah, it kind of is, because when you think about it, we are a social species, and music is a cultural shared thing.
And it's so much easier to, in terms of, you talk about bands starting after and getting these connections, it's like, yeah, it is. It's about, if you know someone or you've got a connection to someone, it's a lot easier to start that conversation, right?
Some people would treat that as a negative and they'd be like, oh, it's just a popularity contest. But if you're putting on a show and there's two bands to pick from and you know this band and you've never heard of this band, you're going to go with the band you know.
It's a respect factor thing as well. They're not going to muck around too much on the show. You don't know how this new band is going to react. Everyone's got rock star. You don't know what rock star mentality they have. They're going to come in and tear the place apart. Like,
totally.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's why we try and be like Skunkbone. I would like to hope we've given a good impression to all the bands we've played with. The scene is like, we try and be as professional as we can. We try and show up. If there's like a load-in time, we try and be there at load-in time. Even though I've been doing this for 15 years and no motherfuckers are ever there at load-in time.
Dude.
But
load-in times are a scam. I'm convinced of that.
But we try and get there and like. We try and be there when it says to be there. We try and ensure that we're there, and that we're at least watching. At least one of us is watching some of every band's set,
which is awesome. Yep, if you can, and
we are ready to load on, and we're ready to go by the time we're supposed to play, and that we don't go over our time, and we do all this. And being, like giving that impression is I think it's so important. And
Stuff's noticed, man. Yeah.
you know, if bands like, that's one of the reasons that gets my goat so hard, is if a band like, I'll keep this for I won't go too hard in this, but like
Yep.
I'm sure you've played with bands, right, where they finish their set. And it's, I mean, you know what it's like. You finish your set, and immediately there's like a half a dozen people want to come up
maybe are
and
coming
shake
up.
your hand and say like, "Oh, that was so good," blah blah blah. And you're like, "I'm trying to fucking get my stuff off the stage." Right? But like, you get these people that will, you know, carefully roll up their cables on stage and sort of put it on the thing, and they'll go and get their instrument case and bring the instrument case up to the stage, and then put the thing into that, and like lay it down on the stage where space is at a premium, and put their thing
People are
carefully
trying to
into
walk
it.
and
And it's like you get your shit out of the way and then you tidy it up.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't be faffing about on stage for like 20 minutes when it's a 20-minute changeover and the other band also needs to set up.
And that's what
I've seen it so many times.
Frankie's Pizza had that shit on lockdown. You know what they used to do at Frankie's? As soon as the set ended, they had 2 big curtains that just used to cover the stage.
Nice. So people
Bang,
couldn't
you can't
come
talk,
up and
no one can walk up to the stage. Catch them afterwards. Close it.
That's a good,
get off.
I
I
like
think
that.
more
That's a good idea.
venues should bring that back. Even smaller venues. I know it's the kind of thing where, you know, smaller venues are, oh, why do we need a fucking curtain? Why does it matter? It doesn't matter. Blah blah blah. And it depends on the layout. It's not going to work for everyone. But I genuinely think if more venues brought that back, that'd be really, like, look at the back room as an example, right? Like, if you were to put, I mean, I don't know. It's a bit harder because sometimes people watch from the side of stage towards where the bar is, right? But like, if you were to have at least a bit of a curtain across, you know, the back part there and going across that front part, and you were to, you know, you close it between sets, and you have and they've got like kind of those side walls anyway off to the area that's often used as the thing. But like, if you were to have a curtain across the front there at that venue, that adds an air of, you know, almost not legitimacy, but it makes it feel a bit more special, because you're like, oh, it's behind a curtain. Like, we don't get that.
Yeah. Everyone wants to peek behind the curtain.
Yes. Yeah. If you can't see what's going on,
I want to know what's going on back there.
You want to know what's going on. Right. Let's move on to the next segment then, which this is probably the last time it's going to be called this.
So let's swear away.
Let's swear away and make it happen.
I'm gonna say heck, just to warn you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I don't know if I can handle that kind of language.
Yeah, I know. Heck and heck. I'm gonna hit the cutaway. Yeah.
All right.
Fuck off, files.
Yeah.
All right. So for the very last time, maybe, we have the fuck off files. Now, this is where we again, you know, we want to get our very esteemed guest opinion on if they were somehow to find themselves in the position of being all powerful and could just snap their fingers like Thanos and fuck some shit off out of the music business, music industry, music scene, whatever, anything music related, what 3 things would you snap out of existence?
I get to pick 3 things.
Yeah. 3 things. And we want to know what they are, and we want a bit of an explanation as to why.
Yeah, right. Man, this is tough to be put on the spot.
And this is the thing, like, we love it because it can be big, it can be little, you know, personal to you, it can be something that you feel would make the music industry better at large for people, or it can be, you know, whatever you want. So we've had all sorts of answers, and I love hearing people's answers for this one. So
I would be interested to see a show. Okay, so first thing, and maybe this is Brisbane music scene specific, but we got to can these mini festivals where there's like 7 to 8 bands on. It's
a
the
weird
death.
middle ground, right? It's
the death of the music scene at the moment. The first 4 bands are playing to nobody. You know, it's like it's such a weird vibe. The sort of 10 to 15 bands that starts at 1 o'clock, like it's not kicking off till 7 or 8, and then because you've had to organize this whole day, the last headliners are probably not headline worthy. I don't know. That'd be the first thing I'm going to can from the music industry is these weird sort of middle ground mini fests. Like, put on 3 or 4 bands on a night, sure, do that. That's rad. Or if you're going to put on a festival, it's got to be a festival. You need a headliner, and you need not just music. A festival is not just bands playing for a long time. A festival has stuff going on, other things, you know. So
Yeah.
sorry to, and even Schema's done it a bunch as well. But sorry to everyone who's putting on these mini fests, but stop putting on mini fests, dudes.
Well, like
It
you
doesn't
said,
help anyone.
it needs a hook. You know, it
It needs a
needs
hook.
something more like,
Yep.
and that's where I think, what that's why I was so interested to see how things went with the Smashing Pumpkins tour,
Mm.
because obviously they brought up there was like several bands on those shows, and yeah, okay, Smashing Pumpkins is going to sell a lot of fucking tickets on their own anyway, but like, Billy Corgan owns NWA. So
Yep.
he went and brought out fucking NWA, and they sort of tried to tie that in. And I mean, from what I heard, it didn't really mix that well because they were like they're trying to do stuff and there's sound checks going on, and it kind of kills a lot of the wrestling vibe with it.
Yep.
But and a lot of wrestling fans are still too serious to, or that they used to like wrestling back in the day, but now because they're so out of touch with it, they're kind of like not as big on it. But no, I get that. I think you need a hook to make it interesting. Even if it's just a theme, like Dark Cell runs that has their music festival thing that they used to, or they don't do it anymore, obviously, because they're not going. But they used to run like the Psycho Circus, like that. Yeah, basically doing like the Kiss thing, right? Psycho Circus, and they'd have that whole thing, and it'd be like a kind of themed event, and you try and have stuff there, and it's just trying to make it interesting and a bit more unique, and then have dancers on between some every so often through the night, or other entertainment acts and freak show stuff and sideshow stuff, and that hook is necessary, I think.
Yeah, and as I say this, like I don't want to bum anyone out whom I know that has done this, because as I said, Schema's done it as well, and they've not been super successful shows. But the ones I have enjoyed are the ones where there is an extra gimmick. Like Moondoll has like the fashion show, and like Shannon goes to a lot of effort to really dress the place up. I think I think we're putting on shows in venues that are too big, considering how many people we have that can attend these shows. I think that's a bit of a drawback, and it's tough, and just shows that are going for too long and spreading the audience out a bit too thin. But it's a tough balancing act, and that's just like a knee jerk reaction for me, because I think it probably hits a bit close to home, because I've played a lot of these these mini fest shows that have not been super successful.
There's nothing worse even as a punter. It's like you might have, and like I get that's a festival vibe, but to me a festival is here's my definition of a festival. I want it to be outdoors, or at least be able to see the sky at some point, not be crammed in a room.
Sure.
But it's the whole thing of, you might get some really good bands at the start of the day, and you might have a big gap, and it's just a tough ask for someone to spend 8 or 9 hours at a pub.
Yeah, that's it. It's a big day for sure.
I mean, I love it. I love being at the pub. I could spend 9 hours at the pub, no problem.
But that's what you find is, right, like you'll often find that people will go to see a few of the bands, and then the rest of the time they'll be sat in the bistro or in the smoking area or whatever, and
which is fine, and I would never admonish someone for doing that, because
absolutely
I'd probably want to do that most of the time as well. It just means that the hook isn't there to grab them and to keep them hanging around. So
keep them busy,
keep it busy. So I really feel like mini fests need an angle, or they need to at least triple their advertising budget. And like, we're all musicians who are putting these shows on, and none of us have an advertising degree. None of us know how to actually get people to come to a show. I think that's one thing that's severely lacking, is that sort of, it sucks, because I hate promotion, I hate self-promo, and I hate advertising and such. It's not a thing that I am good at doing. You need someone who is good at that.
Right? It's always a bit awkward when you're having to like promote yourself.
I find it super awkward. Yeah. But you need someone who is good at that to put a show on successfully. Yeah, that's the first thing, I guess, is...
So mini festivals. Mini
fests
can fuck
can
off.
them, or at least we need a significant revamp.
Yeah. All right, what's number 2?
Number 2 is sound guys. Loud is not synonymous with good. Sort your shit out, sound guys.
Yep. No, I get that. Man.
Loud is good, but just loud is not good. Like,
I think Scotty from Mix Maniacs at the best. You just want it to hum. You just want to you just want everything just to be just humming. As soon as you start trying to blaze people, like if you're not fitting it into the room and you're just going loud for the sake of being loud, you're never going to get good sound.
Yeah. Loud for the sake of loud is bad.
Yeah.
Bass
And we've
systems
all
that
been
are,
there, right? We've all been to a venue that has a system that's too big for the room.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's certainly some Brisbane soundies who get it right and they make it sound good and it can pump and it can still be loud, but man, it's really good. But yeah, the reason I studied audio production, audio engineering and sound production. The reason I studied it at uni was because I was at a gig one time. I was like, this sound is awful, and it's like a 3-piece. I'm like, how can you get this wrong? There's 3 people on stage.
Yeah.
Guitar, drum, bass, and a vocal mic. How can it sound so bad? It can't be this hard. So I out of spite, I went and studied audio engineering. And after doing the whole course,
I'm going to spend 4 years of my life and tens of thousands of dollars to show you that it's easy.
Yeah, I'm going to financially ruin myself out of spite. And yeah, at the end of it, I came out and I was like, you know what? It's not that hard. It's pretty straightforward to run sound for a punk show. And it's, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? It can be loud. Loud can sound good, but it's still got to be good.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, I'm sure this is something you encountered in your course. I don't know how much like studio focus there was in what you were studying, but when I was studying music at TAFE, we did, it was more the performance side, but they did have some recording and mixing courses in there as well. And one of the key points that kind of stuck with me was turn down your master volume when you are mixing, because if you can get it to sound good when it's quiet, it'll sound good loud.
Great tip.
But if you mix it when it's loud, it won't necessarily sound good when it's quiet.
Great tip.
And that's, they're not talking like whisper quiet, like just you don't have to have it blowing your fucking head off when you're mixing, because it's a perfect way to give yourself tinnitus and ruin your hearing and ruin any potential career you have in that in future. But also, it's just so easy to get the balances wrong and assume that it sounds good because it's loud, like you said. Like, it's just a psychological thing, and it's hard for people to overcome that a lot of the time. That's why we got the loudness wars.
Your ears get tired when it's too loud.
And it's a like an established fact that people think something sounds better if it's louder. Like, if you give people 2 mixes of a song and one's 3 dB louder, and that's the only difference, they will say this one sounds better mixed.
Yeah.
It's just like a psychological thing. But
exactly.
I'd say that when it comes to mixing, like you hit the nail on the head with like mix quiet. One of the big things that I always took away was if you're doing a mix and like you can't hear the snare drum, for example, instead of turning it up, why don't you just turn everything else down? Because you get into this arms race where you turn that up and now that's covering this, so you turn this up and then that's covering that. And you end up with everything redlining, and then that's where you get that clipped, distorted, awful sound and everyone's ears are bleeding. It's like, why don't you just turn everything down a bit and then it would have sounded great.
And sort of another one as well, I saw, is like and we'll move on after this one. This is another one. I'm sure we could discuss this like all for another 5 hours if we really wanted to. It was in your, if in your DAW, or if you're using it like an actual physical mixer, but in your DAW, a lot of the time if it's pushing, they got a good mix, but it's like redlining on the master channel. A lot of people will turn the master channel down.
It's not going to help.
Combat that. It's like no. Turn everything. Take everything else. Highlight them all. And move everything down. So that your master is not
clipping anymore.
Putting it to redline and clipping.
In staging, man.
And turn your volume up on your monitor output as well.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And it's that's way too late, and it cost me some good mixes and stuff. But it's just one of those things where sometimes sometimes you don't learn these things until someone shows you.
That's it. Yep.
Great.
And it's a few basic principles, and if you keep those in mind, you can pull a really good mix really easy. You can make a band sound good without too much trouble. The other one's reference mixes. If you're doing a mix, keep going back to something sounds good, that you're not trying to copy, but that you want to get the
Tonal
vibe
balance
of.
control plugin is fucking godsend.
As you mentioned, man, the ear fatigue is real. So, but
it is.
Yep.
I got, dude, mixing. I swear to God, we'll move on in a second. We'll move on to the third one in a second. I swear. I got something that I do when I'm mixing, and I know I shouldn't do it, but I do it, and I fucking gave myself severe headaches when I was mixing the Skunk Bone album, doing this, like the first Skunk Bone album. I hope you understand what I mean when I say this, but I was squinting with my ears. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I was
100%.
there and I
Yep.
had the headphones off and I was like doing that thing where like you move those little muscles here and you move your ears forward to like
Trying
Yeah.
to block them.
and it changes to trying to hear something and it's
Yeah.
like I gave myself such like I was sat there for probably about 6 hours trying to mix
No.
some stuff and then I was like all of a sudden I'm like why the fuck do I have such a severe headache? And it was it was all from that. It was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, I need to take a couple of days off from mixing this because it's fucking killing me.
Just shove your earplugs in there. Just don't hear
anyway.
anything for the next couple of days.
All right. And your third one. What's your third entry for the fuck off files?
I was pretty pleased with those two, so now I'm struggling to think of a third one.
Most people come in pretty strong with one or two, and then
One
they
or
get
two,
to
and
the
the
third
third
one.
one's- yep.
The third one starts to get a bit. And this is like obviously if we have multiple people from a band, we sort of tend to adjust the numbers a
No,
bit. But
I got it. Third thing that I would want to wipe from the music industry is the music gurus who are selling music marketing courses where they promise that they have the answer on how to become a successful musician, and it's only going to cost you. Normally, it costs $5,000, but they're doing a special deal where it only going to cost you $300. Or whatever they're doing. They've all got the same tricks. They've all learnt from the same marketing scam 101 bullshit. They are predators. They are taking advantage of musicians who are struggling, who want to get their music out there, who want to, they're gullible, certainly to a certain extent, but they're preying on ignorant, desperate musicians.
The snake oil salesman. They're the
snake oil salesman.
Snake oil salesman from the Wild West.
It's like what is it? It's it's that old thing of like, I'm gonna write a book on how to make $1 million.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna call it the book How to Make $1 Million. And in it it's just gonna say write a book on how to make $1 million.
Yes.
And you sell the book for $1 million.
Yes.
That's it.
All of these music marketing,
yeah.
How to build a YouTube audience, how to build your Twitch audience, how to make it in the music industry. All of them. If you read enough and if you look into them all enough, they all use the same tactics. They're all using the same playbook, and they're profiting off desperate musicians who don't have the business savvy, who think that they have the answers. And it's the same thing with
a lot of it comes down to post regularly, post varied types of content, interact with your audience, and try and be aware of your metrics.
All the info they have is freely available, and just because they have like this big long course doesn't mean they have more info than a 5-minute YouTube video on the basics of business stuff, which is, as you said, post regularly, engage with the audience. You can do those two things, and you've got a good product. That's all the advice anyone can give you, because at the end of the day, nobody knows, and the odds of making it are so ludicrously small that you're kidding yourself if you think that you're special.
luck plays such a huge part in it too. Happening to go viral, happening to have the right person hear your thing at the right time.
Yep.
And know the right people to be able to spread it around.
Basically, you can't go viral if you don't put stuff out there. But there's no way to guarantee it. And anyone who says that they can teach you the secrets is lying, and they are trying to steal money from you.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
a
much
new one. We've never had that one.
Yeah, no, that's it. We've not had that one before, so that's
was
awesome.
It hits.
All right. That was very.
It hits close to home. I've been through it. I've lost money. I've been tricked, and I don't want other people to fall prey to these scams because they're
shysters.
Yep.
Dirty shysters.
So mini fests. Sound guys thinking
sort your shit out.
Loud is better, and these social media marketing guru fucking people that'll sell you their fucking course. That basically is a pyramid scheme. That's a solid lot. That's a really solid lot.
Yeah, they were.
All right.
Figure those things out. We'll have much better music scene.
Gilmobile in the chat. I have to head to bed to pick up the Discuss Boys at 6 a.m. from the airport. Have a
Say
great
hello to
show,
them.
legend Jesse. See you in Bundy for the heavies and bevies.
Yes.
Heavy and Bevies. Why is that not the name of the show? That's amazing. Heavies and
There
Bevies.
you go.
That's
Next show's called
man, we
Next
missed a
show's called
fucking
Heavies
treat
and
there.
Bevies for sure.
That's great.
Missed
Say
a
hello to
treat
the
there.
Discuss boys for us. We
Yes,
love,
Yeah, absolutely.
we
give
absolutely
us a
love
shout
the
out.
boys from Discuss.
Give them some good love from us. All right. Well, speaking of going to bed, I think we need to take this home because I got to
Yep.
be. I've I got a shift tomorrow and I got to be up for work in the morning. So
I'm writing down Heavies and Bevies because that's
yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah.
that's good.
That's,
That'll be a good one.
this is marketing
We
gold
want
here. This is what we're
Yeah.
doing.
as payment for well, I suppose I was gonna say as payment for using the thing that you got through our podcast. You got to put Skunk Bone and Nuclear Vision on that show. They'd be
Yeah, for sure.
that's the price on that
And
one.
I'll
No,
just come for the
look,
bevies.
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, just come to Bevies. But
And
yeah,
bevies.
hey, you could make it a mini festival, mate.
There you go. Now we're talking. Yeah.
Hey, you've got your thing, bevies.
Yeah, that's your hook. That's your hook.
Yep.
You got like
That's
you
the
selling
hook.
like they're selling like craft beers and it's I don't know what
You
you,
know
want
what?
to do
We'll
with
buy
it. but-
weights, and that can be the heavies.
Tell you
Yeah.
what, if we tie it all together, Mick from Dirty Brew with his Newstead rep hookup,
There you go.
he'll help
That's
us
your
out with Heavies
headliner
and
right
Bevies.
there. That's your headliner.
Yeah.
There you go. You fucking make it work. It's all coming together, mate. It's all
Brought
coming
it
together.
together.
This is gonna be, and I'll sell you my course on how to market it properly, and we'll get the loudest sound guy in Brisbane to come and do this.
We'll get every sound guy. We'll patch their PAs all together into one giant system. We'll put it on at King Lear's throne, which is like an 80 cap room. So.
Oh man. The strip clubs next door. We fucking like they won't be able to hear anything for the walls shaking from
Oh,
the.
there'll be so much jiggling at that strip club.
Or, all right. Well, I think we need to wrap that one up there, but because we're kind of getting close on the time. But look, man, we could talk for so much fucking longer, man. This is awesome. We are going to be playing a song. For those of you watching on the stream, we're going to be playing a regular Gonzalez video before we wrap things up. So stay tuned for that one. Jesse, don't jump off the call once we speak a thing because we'll do a bit of a post briefing there. We'll have a quick chat before we log everything
Absolutely.
off there. But thank you everyone for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you to Jesse. As we said, get on down to Bad Luck in the Valley tomorrow for that fucking show. Once again, that is Mesmic, Dirty Brew, Regular Gonzalez, and Tailor Made Rejects. If you're gonna be around the valley, fucking go there. Like if you don't got anything on, fucking get down there, go and see that shit because that's gonna be a hell of a show.
Yeah, and if I can quickly plug too,
Yes.
next Friday the 30th, we're playing next door to Bad Luck at King Lear's with Therein. It's the System of a Down's first album 25th anniversary, and Therein are covering the whole first album. We're opening the
Nice.
show.
Nice, that'll be a good one.
Right.
Cool.
Yep.
That sounds like a fun time too. Awesome. All right.
Tomorrow,
so next
tomorrow
two
and next
weekends,
Friday. Yep.
next 2 Fridays, you can get yourself a dose of the Gons. So that's awesome. Thank you again so much, man, for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. We absolutely have to get you back at some point down the road
Absolutely,
too.
man. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It was a great chat. Thanks
Kyle, is there
everyone
anything
for
you need
watching
to-
and checking it out.
Yeah,
Other
Kyle,
than-
is there anything you need to shout out?
Other than the Southwest Sydney metal scene seems to be going strong. After
Cool.
what I witnessed the other night, going down to the Iron Spoke Brewery for that heavy metal night, it was so nice to see so many locals, and they were all saying the same thing as me. It's like we do not get shit like this out here.
Mhm.
We have nowhere. So if
Awesome.
you see this and you're from the Southwest Sydney, keep an eye out for what's going on at Iron Spoke Brewery. They've got grunge nights, they've got heavy metal nights, they've got rock nights at the moment. They're really doing big things in the Southwest Sydney music scene at the moment, and yeah, just fucking keep an eye out on Beer Buddy because I think my next one's Kenny Slide, country music artist Kenny Slide,
Cool.
which I'm organising now
That's
too.
awesome. That sounds really cool. In terms of my stuff there, if you head over to Skunkbone's YouTube channel, we've just got a little video we put out this morning, actually. We were selected to participate in a song swap thing for Make Music Day, which is today.
That's such a cool
And,
idea.
Basically, yeah, they pair up people from all over the world, and they're like, you do a version of one another's songs. So we got paired with this guy that does sort of like an Afro hip hop kind of vibe, and we initially were really confused on how to handle it, but we came around and figured it out. And we just kind of did, like a nice rock kind of version of the track there. We got a friend of ours, Ilya, to come on and do the rap parts because none of us are really that good at rapping. And yeah, so that's up there now. If you go and check that out, it's on our YouTube channel. We will be posting, if we can get a copy of the link to this guy doing something with one of our songs that we sent him across. If we can get a copy of that link, we will be sharing that around as well. So keep an eye out on the socials for that. Otherwise, that's all I've got. So all we've got from us. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to our guest. We, as I said, are going to try and have these happening on YouTube going forward. We just had a little snafu there with YouTube systems. Hopefully we can get around that for next week.
We'll have that sorted.
So head on over to the YouTube and give us a subscribe over there. We just figured it's going to be easier for people to watch us on there, to be honest, because that's what people have been telling us. So head on over there. Other than that, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Peace out.
See you next week.